Lesson 2, Installing NetBackup. Lesson 2 of Lesson 9. Here, lesson topics and objectives. Let's take a look. The first one, preparing for NetBackup installation and configuration. In this one, we're going to describe the general considerations for installing NetBackup. We will also take a look at the administration license key for this and how you can go about the multiple different methods of ensuring your license keys. New to NetBackup 7.5 is the NetBackup pre-installation utility. This one we will take a look at to find out if your installation is ready for an upgrade. We've got installing your NetBackup environment. We will take a look at how NetBackup gets installed. What are some of the prereqs for this? Installing NetBackup client software. That is different than server software, and we'll take a look at how to install NetBackup client. There are several different ways to be able to do that, whether it's Unix or Windows. Verifying your NetBackup installation. One of the important pieces after installing NetBackup is to verify that the installation was actually done correctly. We will take a look at those. Preparing for your NetBackup installation and configuration. Installation and preparation. There are several different areas that you'll need to be concerned about before installing your NetBackup environment. The first and foremost is your servers. Are your servers compatible? We have hardware compatibility lists available on our website. I highly recommend you go out to our website to view those. Next, you can double check and take a look at memory and hardware, your hard disk, to find out if they are compatible for running NetBackup. This can also be seen in our release notes, which are available not only once it's installed, but also on the website. Depending on if you have a Unix environment or a Windows environment, you will need to possibly remove your old software. When it comes to Windows environments, you can easily upgrade by installing the new version right on top of the old version. If it's a Unix environment, most likely you will need to uninstall NetBackup before installing the new version. Again, double check the installation guide and your release notes for this. As far as the environment's concerned, look and find out if your devices are supported. Just because they were supported for a previous version doesn't necessarily mean they're supported for this version. Again, I refer to you to take a look at our website to find out if those devices are supported. If they are supported, one of the other areas of concern is to making sure that they are operational. That means that can the operating system actually see those devices? It's very important. Many times people think I'll install NetBackup, and as long as I can get NetBackup on there, then NetBackup should be able to see those devices. I'm here to tell you that if you can't get the operating system to see that hardware, there's no way that NetBackup is going to be able to see that hardware. And can your devices communicate? So in any way possible to be able to go test those devices outside of NetBackup would be your best bet. As far as on the administration side, know your resources. Know where you can go get assistance. The Symantec Connect community is a great community to go to for all of your peers that also have NetBackup environments for that. Know that you can contact support or use your resources for the PDFs that are available online. Double check to make sure that you have the right license keys, especially if you've had an environment that was installed that you were testing out. Those license keys are typically have a 30-day shelf life for that. So if you have used it for a test environment and have now purchased it, make sure you actually install the valid license key for this. Installation of this product does require administrative privileges. Make sure you are installing this with admin privileges. Let's take a look at determining the environment requirements. We've got something called NetBackup compatibility lists. This actually sets up supported platforms, peripherals, your drives, and your libraries. All of this information can be found out on our website. The release notes. I can't tell you how important it is, the release notes and the installation guide. These are very important documents. As far as the release notes are concerned, it will discuss areas in there about binary sizes. How much space are you going to need to install this product? There should be two categories. One is server size and one is client size. Whether it's a master server or a media server, the binary size under server would be the exact same. It's the same installation. Any of the product dependencies and any kind of operational notes will also be listed in the release notes section. They'll have end of life statements as well. So anything that we know we are going to get rid of in a future version, be sure to pay attention to that section of the release notes. We're going to give you at least one version heads up before we will take a component away from this product. Installation guide. This will give you some general software and memory requirements. There'll be special guidelines for each operating system, such as Solaris, Windows, HP, and there's also special guidelines for those of you that want to install this in a cluster environment. We do also have a backup planning and performance tuning guide, so be sure to check out the best practices and the performance tuning guide. That can also help you in your environment. So here we're going to take a look at verifying compatibility. This is our website. You can go out to the Enterprise under Support, and you want to choose the Product Finder. Once you find NetBackup Enterprise Server, you can select that, and typically on the right-hand side of the website, you'll see the compatibility list. So you can see NetBackup Master Server compatibility, the operating systems, the hardware, and the database agents. I suggest to review this as this website gets updated continuously. It's probably more updated than what your installation guide would show you. As far as selecting your compatibility list results, you can see here we've shown a screenshot of what it would look like for all the different links to the different components that are on there. Getting into NetBackup licensing. Licensing is an important piece of NetBackup. The master servers and media servers all require licensing. So as you can see, it is a long digit characters and numbers that comprise our NetBackup licensing. Depending on what options that you have purchased from your sales rep will determine which licenses have to go on the master server and media servers for this. How to administer your license keys. There are a few different ways. On the Windows version or the Unix version is the NetBackup Administration Console. That can get done through the Windows Admin Console or through the Java GUI. For the command line, there is a bpmin license. That command actually runs both on Windows and on Unix. What's only on Unix versions of this is a license key utility menu-driven interface. You can enter in get_license_key and it will bring up a menu-based driven utility to be able to view license information. So here's the NetBackup Windows Admin Console. For here on the administrating license keys, you can see the Admin Console. Underneath the Help menu, there's the license option. Once you select the license option, you get the license window that will appear. There are 3 different areas to be able to view the license information. The first radio dial is a summary of all active license features. So if you'd like to know if one of your license keys is no longer valid, you can select the top option. Next is a summary of active capacity-based license features. 2 versions ago, we came out with standard licensing and capacity-based licensing. So if you're doing any kind of disk backups that require capacity-based licenses, this is where you'd go out and check to see if the capacity-based licenses are functioning. Same thing in all registered license keys. These are the keys that have been installed whether or not they have expired or are active. To add a new license key, you can see that the asterisk icon, you would select that to add a new license key. This is just showing you a screenshot of what the summary of actively based license keys look at. You can see the description and then the count for how many licenses you have at that level. Next is showing you the capacity-based portion of this. The nice thing about the capacity-based license is, as you can see, that there is a license capacity. It will give you used capacity and if you are in or out of compliance. So if you notice that you're nearing the end of how many terabytes you've purchased from Symantec, you might want to contact your sales rep to get an additional license for more terabytes. Using the pre-installation environment checker. So in this section, we're going to talk about the pre-installation environment checker. This will help to identify possible issues that might prevent a successful installation or upgrade. You can run this on a local or remote Windows master server or media servers. It is located on your NetBackup CD and there's no additional requirements. Another way to run this is through the VX validate command. This is not supported on AI64 systems. To run the environment checker, you can insert the CD, run the Browse EXE, and you'll select off on the left-hand side of the screen the pre-installation option. Once you choose the pre-installation option, you can click on Run the Pre-installation Environment Checker. It's going to ask you, do you want it run at local or remote? We're going to select the local. From the local, it'll take a minute or two to run in your environment. The environment checker results will display. The ones with the green check circles are all the ones that have passed. As you can see, we actually have a yield symbol, which means that you can find out more information by clicking on the hyperlink next to those icons. The yield symbol just indicates that there might be an issue. You can still continue with the installation of the NetBackup product with yield symbols. Installing your NetBackup environment. We'll take a look at server and client installation. The master server installation process. The first thing you need to do is log on as administrator. Next, you need to insert the DVD into the server. You'll need to select the browser.exe option to launch the console wizard. It'll prompt you for a license key. You'll enter in your license key. It'll also prompt you for the server names, your master server name, and any additional media servers. Next, you can select that you want to install the master server. Once you're finished installing the master server, you can proceed to start installing the media server. Which brings me to the next slide, is media server installation. Once your master server is installed, then you can log on as administrator onto your media server box. Again, you can insert the NetBackup DVD and select that you want server installation. You'll enter in the license key. You'll select the NetBackup media server. You'll verify the name of the media server. It should automatically pop up as it queried what the local host name was. You will need to enter in the NetBackup master server host name. That's the system that you just got done installing. You'll verify the NetBackup EMM server host name, which should actually match the master server host name. And then you can proceed with your install of the media server option. So let's take a look what this is going to show you on some screenshots. Here we've already installed the DVD. Once you launch the DVD, we're going to choose to do the installation option. Here you get the option, as you can see, we've got server software installation and then client. We're going to choose the server software installation. Notice that it doesn't mention anything about a master server or media server at this point. I just want to let you all know that whether it's going to be a master or a media server all depends on how you answer the questions as you run through the installation. So some useful links that we can see here during the installation. It does prompt you to take a look at NetBackup Sort as well as the NetBackup 7.5 portal upgrade if you're doing an upgrade. We do have something new to NetBackup 7.5. This is called the NetBackup Product Improvement Program. So we try and collect information from your installation in your environment and send that information to Symantec to better help your needs in the future. By default, this checkbox is selected. You do need to select that you agree with the license agreement, the EULA on here, before you can click Next. You'll enter your license key. Once you enter your license key, then the option to install NetBackup Master Server software or Media Server software will become available. The bottom option, the NetBackup Remote Administration Console, is automatically enabled. You do not need a license key to install that. Next, you'll enter in the host name of the master server, and in the middle section here where it talks about additional servers, those would be any additional media servers that you have in your environment. If you're not sure your media servers that you'll have in your environment, you can save that for entry later on. I will show you in a different module where you can enter that information in. If you notice, the very bottom entry is the EMM server. By default, NetBackup automatically puts the master server hostname in the EMM server entry here. Those two hosts should be the same host. Just to let you know, in future versions of NetBackup, this will be mandated. For additional information on how to install a master server installation or a media server installation, please visit the demonstration section of this module. For additional information on the NetBackup 7.5 Product Improvement Program, please feel free to view this demonstration in the demonstration section of this lesson. We'll take a look at installing client software now. Here we're looking at the NetBackup client software page, an excerpt out of the operating systems for NetBackup 7.x. You can refer to the tech note and mark that down to visit our website to view specific client software programs that are supported by the NetBackup 7.5 version. We've listed here the Microsoft Windows 2008 and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. These are the two types of operating systems that we have demonstrated in our labs. There are far more client software that is supported for NetBackup 7.5. There are several different ways to distribute client software. We will show a brief description of each of these. The first one is local installation. The next one is installation from a file share, if you're going to pull that off of some network share as well. The Unix server to client push installation, and then the Windows server to client push installation. So the first two are actually done on local client to remote client file shares. As you can see, for the Unix version, you can basically put the DVD in any Unix client, launch it by clicking or selecting /install and choosing the NetBackup client software option. Run through all the questions asking who the client is and what the master server that this particular client will enter into. As far as the Windows server side for installing client software, you can enter in the DVD on any Windows system. You can either, once you enter in the DVD, it pops up for installation. In the last demonstration, we showed server software. This time around, we're going to select client software installation. From the client software installation, you'll then select, do you want to install it locally on that computer, or do you actually want to install it from computers on your network? It doesn't really matter if the host itself actually has NetBackup client software installed on it or is a NetBackup server. It's any system in your environment that at least can be reached out from that particular host. When we talk about a distribution for Unix to Unix versions on here, we've got a Unix master server. This is unique in this direction that once you actually create a policy on a Unix master server, there is one little option, as you can see here, install software, that you can push the installation directly from Unix. This only works from Unix master servers to Unix clients. It will not do cross-platform. So on the Unix master server cannot push to a Windows client. That would have to be done having the DVD or a network install on that client. Another option is distributing client software from Windows to Windows. Once again, you could either be on a master server, you could be on a media server, you could be on yet another NetBackup client, or something that's not even in the NetBackup environment. As long as that one host can actually see any other host client in that environment, then you can do from a network installation. You would choose network install, you'll enter in who the master server is, any additional media servers in the environment. This is where it's pretty critical to make sure that you list all media servers. There could be a chance, the point that that client could be backed up to any one of those media servers. If that media server is not listed for that client, those backup jobs will fail. Then you can choose which destination, those systems that you have, enter in the domain, the computer name, and then enter in your username and password and the domain to add that client installation. This is the NetBackup client installation. If you would like to have some step-by-step instructions, you can find this in the demonstration section of this module. take a look at verifying your NetBackup installation. So now that we have everything installed in your environment, let's take a look at what you should be going out and making sure that everything appears correctly. So here are the default installation paths. We have on the NetBackup side of the house, Windows, it will be Program Files, Veritas, NetBackup. For Unix, it will be User, OpenV, NetBackup. The Media Manager side will be C, Program Files, Veritas, Vol Manager, and User, OpenV, Vol Manager for Unix. NetBackup databases can be found under the C, Program Files, Veritas, NetBackup DB, all one word. And for Unix, it's User, OpenV, DB. For license key information, you can see that under Program Files, Veritas, NetBackup, var. For Unix, it's User, OpenV, var directory. For Java-related areas, you want to take a look at C, Program Files, Veritas, Java. And for Unix, it's User, OpenV, Java. On the installation scripts, we'll take a look at the host name, any kind of information that you would have entered into on the Windows installation, all gets put into Windows registry entries. As far as those extra entries, we can take a look at underneath the C, Windows, System32, Drivers, etc. Services. Any of those, you'll see all the NetBackup entries were appended to the services file. We will see automatic startup and shutdown scripts that were sent into the services.msc file. Verifying the NetBackup installation, you can see the Windows version of this is real similar to the Java version run on Unix machines. Down towards the bottom of the activity monitor, there are 3 tabs that are shown here on the screen. You've got jobs, those would be any kind of jobs that would be run in NetBackup. Next to that for Windows, you'll see services and processes. On the Java side, those are referred to as daemons and processes. So some important NetBackup locations, the NetBackup directories. A lot of these NetBackup directories can contain customizable scripts and command lines. The best area to find these customizable scripts will probably be underneath the NetBackup/bin admin cmd, admin cmd directory, or the admin cmd/goodies directory. These will be the most places that you'll end up finding a lot of these scripts, and we'll refer to those later on in this course. You've got startup and shutdown scripts. Depending on your environment, if it's Windows, it's BP up and BP down. If it's Unix, it's NetBackup start and NetBackup stop. We will take a look at these later. There also are environment variables. To make your life a little easier, we do suggest that you set up your paths if you need to run any commands, whether it's Unix or Windows. And here's just some command locations. As we mentioned before, you can see some of the NetBackup programs. Client commands are all located in the NetBackup bin directory. If it's master server commands, they're typically located in that bin, the admin CMD. If it's media server and device communication information, you want to look at the Vol Manager bin directory. If it's utilities and scripts, it's in the bin goodies directory. And for command line help for Unix, you can visit the online man pages for any one of those commands, and you can also reference the Symantec NetBackup Commands Reference Guide. In previous versions, there was a Unix and Windows. This version, it's all underneath one commands book. So let's take a look at starting and stopping our processes. To stop all your processes, as I mentioned before, you can do NetBackup stop in Unix or BP down. It will ask you the question if you want to stop all your processes. Be cautious when stopping NetBackup processes to make sure that no backup or restore jobs are continuing at that moment. Otherwise, your jobs will fail. To start up the processes, you can choose NetBackup Start for Unix or BP Up for Windows. To verify if the processes are running, there are several different ways to do this. One of the easier ways is from command line as well. You can enter in BPPS-A for Unix, which just stands for all. You can use a -X, which would show you also additional processes outside of NetBackup. For Windows, you can run BPPS. To stop and start all processes or daemons, mostly for Unix, you can use the bp.kill_all. Be very, very cautious about running this command, as this is basically like doing a kill-9 on those processes. There's also a bp.start_all script. Let's take a look at some common installation issues. As far as networking or communication issues, you want to make sure that you can actually ping the master server to the media server to the clients. That's how the process flow works. You always have the master server, your media server, and your clients. It's a pretty linear process when trying to do backups and even restores for that. You want to make sure that the communication, that all the services are started that are appropriate for that. As you saw before in a previous slide, that some of the services were stopped. It really depends on what type of services and license key information that you have installed on your NetBackup environment. So double check with that. You might want to double check the ports, that you've got firewalls that are open to allow those processes to talk to one another. Ensure that any of those are not blocked, especially some of the main components. VNetD, port 13724. Host communication setup. Double check to make sure that those hosts can communicate to one another, not only by their IP address, but also by their host name. Anything that gets misspelled, I have to say that's probably one of the most common issues that we have on installation for NetBackup is misspelled host names when entering them into NetBackup for installation. Be very cautious on mixing short name with fully qualified domain names. Pick one method and stick with it. So as far as fully qualified, make sure that everything, when you enter in the fully qualified name, even when setting up your policies, that you continue with the fully qualified domain name for that. And be note that when you have Unix systems in your environment, case sensitive is at its utmost for that. It's treated as a whole separate client name. In our lesson summary, at this point, we've actually learned how to prepare NetBackup installation. We took a quick look at how to install NetBackup, and we also took a quick look at how to verify the directory structures for the installation and how to diagnose some of the most common installation issues.